Good evening, everyone. As your friendly Switch Doppler here, as always. You may wonder, Switch Doppler, you don't stream on Sundays. Well, that's true. I don't stream normally on Sundays, but I was a bit bored, and I have about a half an hour left on my free plan on StreamYard, so I was like, why not? So yeah, I thought why not to do a short stream today until it's resets or until um, well next week, which will be around Thursday actually. Yeah, it just yeah, I thought why not to do a little bit of a short stream today, and I mean this is not the first time I do streams, not on this regular times I do streams, but it had happened in the past that I have been streaming sometimes middle of the week or earlier than that. Like last year when I did the stream for early Christmas, early New Year's Eve, for example, and and I might do it perhaps even an Easter stream, but that might be until let's see here what Easter is until. Wow, let's see here. Oh, by the end of March, so that's gonna be something. So yeah, what I have been doing lately, it's well, as usual. Being more talking to my friends, talking to my girlfriend, Fire Goddess, which sadly is under the weather. And let's say it's because that she showed positive for COVID, and including her mom, but her brother is negative. People are like, how it is possible if they all live in the same house, and how it is just one member in your family that's not even positive? Well, according to my dad, it's possible for someone to have a stronger natural immunity for certain disease. Even though they actually have it, even though they both actually, all of her family had given both shots, or was it free? I think it's just two or three of vaccination of COVID. So, but despite you can still get COVID, despite that you have, well, um, the vaccination and all that. But it's possible. Yeah. So, finding out is having COVID, it is no fun at all. Trust me, it's what did she describe? It is like how she feels. How I describe it more as friendly termed. Well, it feels like it for her. It feels like she's been hit by a train over and over. Or as she said, I feel like shit. Well, not surprising in that. I mean, COVID is one thing you don't want to mess around with. And we have our friendly game master, aka Game Guy. What up? Assuming you're eating or something. How would I not surprised that you know that? Yeah, so today had been just, the normal, typical, just calm day. I haven't done much. Got up at 2 in the afternoon, or, well, actually more closer to 1, just past 1, and watch TV, be on the computer, work on a story, which I'm still working on. That's just pain in the butt. Well, so far I am about 2 hours and 2 minutes in a story. So I'm wondered how this gonna turn out, but this will be the longest you know text and music story I'm working on with 2 hours. Boy, it's gonna be a record. The previous ones have been just about 1 hour or so, but you know, whoa. Yeah, you did mention you were having there's supposed having a storm over there, but having this insane blizzard. Whoa. Well, being surprised that you even had a blackout by now at this point. You know, if it is a blizzard, if the blackout, those can last for quite a while. Sometimes just by an hour, sometimes even a whole night. So if it would happen the whole night and it's cold temperature outside, well, my advice is to be, well, at least sleep under really a lot of covers like blankets and or like, and of course, I would recommend if it is cold, even if you had a blackout, I would recommend that you sleep in is on your common or just any clothes because that will actually give you more safer for body heat. And I had never even had experienced any blackouts during a storm or anything. It's just blizzards. Well, they're not that really common where I live. I mean, it's just not the same as you know, compared like a hurricane or those big snowstorms that the U.S. has. Where I live, we don't even usually have that type of blizzard or snowstorm. Uh, but it had happened a few times when we did have some stormy weather, but that's it. Sometimes I do wonder what the weather is up to. So, what's your brother up to though? Let me guess. Library, gym. I think it's probably that they are. All right, right. Yeah, that would make sense. No gym would even be open in this kind of weather, especially in the library either in a blizzard. Yeah, and I don't think your brother is that insane to driving if there's a blizzard going on. I wouldn't have been surprised. I mean, some people are driving in blizzards, but they probably would have been crazy enough to driving in a blizzard. I would not have. Yeah, because of the snow, the both library and the gym are closed, so that makes sense. That also would make you know, a lot of places like convenience stores, grocery stores are probably is closed as well. I mean, it's just, I mean, just imagine if you're going out with a light snowfall outside and there's just light wind, light breeze. Okay, like just imagine that. Go to a convenience store or the closest store to do some shopping. Just imagine that type of wind, but tenfold. Like say, if you're having like if someone have using a freaking huge fan and right in your face, that would have been like it. I mean, just imagine it, that type of wind speed, and that you won't be able, like, you can't even see like a not even like 2 or 3 feet in front of you. That type of weather, I don't think anyone would even be so stupid to go to the nearest convenience store, even if they're gravy for something. Like, if for example, if for example, those who are pregnant and they are gravy for something, and that you're sending your husband, boyfriend, or fiance going to the store to buy it, but there's a freaking blizzard and yeah, I would not have done that. And if I had known, if it was me, I probably if I had known that there was going to be a big freaking blizzard day by that time of the day, I probably would have buy a lot of things, especially what my pregnant girlfriend would have been craving for. Like if there's ice cream, well, I would buy tons of it already. If she wants Coke, not this white stuff, people. Ugh, no way. Yep, I probably would buy her Coke. Tons of it is as much I can do. You know, it's just great. And what are you eating for? Pasta, steak, hamburger, fish? This thing had actually, though, for the most part, been kind of normal. I wondered if the others would even showed up in the stream, even though this gonna just be a short one for about half an hour or so. Excuse me. Yeah, same here. I mean, we have a perfect clear weather today, and I haven't done much. It just as it is. I used to prefer winter, but now these days I think I may change that to springtime. Not summer, not at all. Especially for extremely hot. It's no worth being in the winter. Believe me, it isn't. So, what's for dinner for you, though, Kyle? The blizzard is a damn mission of the blanket that the entire town. Lol. Yeah, that makes sense. We don't have enough blizzard over here. Great. And that I really don't want for takeout or something. Well, we had spaghetti for dinner. That was pretty much. Ah, well, not surprising there. Steakaholic, steak addict. You could probably. Would you eat a steak if someone had put it in a mixer, like made a like a smoothie? Yeah, probably not. I mean, I have seen people, literally all those who are into, like your brother, into gym, you know, drinking raw, raw egg as protein shake or something. I mean, it's not too bad. It's just, it's actually healthy for you. But I haven't. No. Would I? Probably not. I'd rather eat eggs as they're, you know, fried, boiled. But scrambled egg, that I haven't tried. Yeah, that is. Hmm. No, but it goes a different food that there are many times that I have tried, but so many would even dare try to do. Mm-mm. Some food are, mm, it just as it is. Pancakes, there are more something I would like. I mean, I like these your commonly typical ones with, and even with cinnamon. What else? Well, I did try to make my own American version of pancakes once, but it didn't end up as the same result that I wanted to. Well, they were edible, but not burn anything. It just I weren't able to make more than like two or four, maybe at most. They were a little bit bigger than usually expected to be. Not bad taste point though. I mean, I even bought, well, not me, but my dad bought me some supposed American pancakes before though, with, I think one was a banana flavor. Not bad. One with, I think was blueberry. Not too bad. One was actually with the pieces of chocolate in it. Not bad. Not bad. But my mom, when she saw it, it's like, yuck. And, well, it's one not a taste. I don't think that anyone would up for that, but yeah. I mean, I even remember when Kubo's reaction when I told them that um, Hawaiian pizza is not American invention; it's actually made in Canada. I mean, I always expecting that. I always believe Hawaiian pizza was made in at least on Hawaii. I mean, hence the name Hawaiian pizza. I mean, am I right though? But nope. Apparently, it was a Canadian for an invention. That was pretty shocking. I mean, what's next? Pepperoni pizza's not even made in American. What is made in, I know, Japan? But newsflash, it isn't. It's an American word. Would you eat pizza with if it has tuna fish on it? I would, and I have. Homemade pizza with tuna fish is so good, so good. No, there are actually one pizza you probably will eat with burger meat on it. You know, thin slices of pizza meat on that one. So fish with the cheese. Mm, how about this? Fried fish dipped in cheese. No, I might have say no on that one. I mean, as Elf from his show, he literally ate a turkey with covered chocolate sauce on it. I was like, whoa. I mean, I love turkey, but colors chocolate sauce on a turkey? Nope. That ruined my appetite. And I'm being fair, on his home planet, there is one, in according to him, a delicacy dessert, slime ball. Literally, a slime ball with other different flavor to, like, I don't know, a cherry or something. Yeah, it's he literally had one slime ball in his ship that when he crashed on Earth, and it had been in his hand in his ship, and I think it was in a plate paper bag for a couple of months or so, I think. And trust me, I wouldn't even eat the slime ball. No, thank you. Not even if it was the last thing on Earth. I'd rather eat the tree, but not slime. Ugh. No, thank you. You know, people in the past, especially in at least in Scandinavia, at least I know what happened, but um, people for centuries have been using tree bark as a part of as a flour in bread, especially from like pine trees. It's edible, but a bit different taste. I don't know what it tastes like inside. Haven't really tried it. probably I probably would give a taste, but I don't know. But mostly the people had that tree bark, especially pine bark, in their flour. It was because some, how especially in the way before urbanization, industrial age started, and people were, you know, didn't lived on the poor side, on the countryside, but it wasn't rich enough for small poor farmers, and especially when the drought happening, you really had to figure out one way to support yourself and to feed your family with anything you could do. And yeah, it is possible. But good thing you didn't live in England during medieval times. That would have been a way worse. Because even though a lot of those forests had a lot of animals like rabbits, deers, perhaps even moose, you weren't even able to hunt them there. If you were being caught hunting deer in one of those forests in UK during medieval times, you could lose either an ear or a hand. Like, swing, cut off a hand for you. Because most forests belong to the royal crown. And if people weren't even allowed to go to the forest even to get firewood. And that was also hard times for people in UK during medieval times. Just imagine that though. I mean, people will do almost anything. People will do almost anything when to do to find something to support themselves, as to feed themselves or their family. It's you have no idea how drastic some people would do. Some even went to as far as to as stealing from other farmers or even from the neighbors or even while eating their own shoes. Some people even ate their even literally were cooking or boiling their own leather shoes so much they can even eat it. That desperate some people were at the time. And I'm not kidding, it seriously happened. During a time of, like, say, the 1800s in Sweden or Norway or Finland, during the time was a lot of there was a lot of problem with the farmings. All of farms had to have been abandoned. Either the drought, or there was too just a drought season, or it was just too wet, too rainy. If there's too much rain, those farmlands, the crops they had would died. They were just running away. So a lot of people was forced to leave. Some of them actually moved as far as well, even so far as south part of Europe, and they went to as even as Canada and America, and I don't know, even to South America, I believe, but most of that, and even Ireland was at one point in their history suffered the most huge on the population. 1.5 million was forced to leave Ireland due to the fact that their entire potato crops had literally died. They suffered from a huge portion of their potato farming. They literally used, because it was a fungus, was a fungi that caused the whole potato farms to simply rot away. So without any food for the people, well, what do? Try to find another food source to eat. Sure. But what if there's not enough to support yourself? But just imagine this. If you're living in one small town that's say 5 to 10,000 people, between 2 or 5,000 people, and it's a and there's a and the main food source in that town is potato farming, and the whole potato farms have been completely wiped out because of a disease or a fungi like that, what will you do? You probably go to other towns in the area, like several miles away, or the nearest village, nearest small town, and you're asking for any if there's any food that they can buy or even spare. You may find that not only your small town, but their neighbor towns and neighbor villages also has suffered the same misfortune. Think about it. If they had the same misfortune, I would end up being the same to believe that they would try to do anything as possible to, well, to find food. But if there were any other option, abandoning your home, especially if you have been living on a farm, would have been in your family for generations, and you don't have any other options to either continue to fight the hunger and find a way to support yourself and your family, even if it means that your family might starve to death, or that just abandon your farm and find another place to live. It's something that most people probably were facing eventually. I know the fact that even China had a lot of problems when there were thousands. I think it was at least 2 million people suffered of a huge drought that caused many people to die or forced to leave. It is a very hard life to use imagine. If you're living in a small community and just suddenly your your main source income as main food source, you and your family is one particular food source, like say if you were growing potatoes or salad, and how and then that all your farming, all your growing crops are like gone, being run away or eaten. You have no way to support yourself or your family as a food. And for Irish people, they had to leave Ireland, but at least they found a way to support themselves in the United States when they abandoned many of their homes. Including for Swedish people, we left our country. There was like 1.3 million, so almost a half a million people moved just from that. But not all stayed. Some actually came back to Sweden at some time. And there were, in fact, even some people that even the government tried to prevent people from leaving. Most people that did leave was either families or young people. Without the young people that leaving, that meant a huge drastic backfire on the population. Because if the only the elderly that just remained in the country and other and the majority, the life was young people in their still like say early 20s to maybe as mid 30s, who still was old enough to have but many kids. But if that majority leaves, a remaining population is elderly, like in their from their 50s and to 80s, who is too old to have any further in their furthermore future kids of their own. That would meant if they die, there are no. That would means like let's say for a Swedish small town of and let's say 2,000, and mature and like say as 5% or let's say as 15 to 18% are young people, like from their late teens, like 18 to its mid 30s, who is still old enough to have a kids of their own. If all of them decide to simply move, and the remaining population is from their well, from their late 30s, the late early 40s to late 60s, which is too old for have any kids. Because as you're getting older, just especially for women, as you're getting older, you have a hard chance for even to have a baby than otherwise. So imagine that. And it's, I mean, also think into this. What if the United States suffers from a huge the same problem right now, for example? Like say for the 2024 is going to be the one of the biggest, worst climate change for in the entire United States. And what happened if that a lot of people that growing let's say corn, and their whole income is based on corn. And if that's just suddenly in near instant, all one morning they found all their crops for like huge fields with corn, all dead, all whistled up, like complete dead. It's nothing to be even, there is maybe not even enough to salvage to even support yourself. It is something like that happened. It's like in the movie Interstellar that came out a few years ago, I believe it was at least, or I think it's almost 10 years ago, I believe it is. Like in that movie, that happened to the world. In fact, most of the world's population was suffering because there was only one food source the whole world could grow: corn. Other food sources that are growing, like wheat, had died. Okra died because of blight, some sort of virus or bacteria, causing all the growing other most common plant you growing to die. So corn was the only food source that was able to live. But they eventually discovered that um, that corn would also be eventually the last food source to vanish. Oh, I could it. Um, yeah. So basically, in Interstellar, the movie, they also the NASA officially or unofficially had been dissolved, and all effort for space exploration had ceased. In fact, the government even made had changed the world's history books that the moon landing was faked. The U.S. government had decided to change that in their those book history because they didn't want to. They decided to make that made up the story that the U.S. was spying on Soviet at the time during the Cold War, and yeah, and but the thing is, NASA was actually still in operational, and in fact, they had discovered a number of years before then an anomaly, like a black hole around Saturn. Normally, that would have been possible because a black hole cannot be approached by a gas giant without being swallowed up. But I think it was something like a kind of like a black hole, but more like a um, you know uh, like a dimensional portal, and that they had sent in 12 ships in that. They had sent 12 ships in that, and they end up in a different galaxy. And then in that galaxy, they found, I think, 4 to 5 planets orbiting around one thing. Not a particular, there were not only just one star, but they were orbiting around a giant black hole. A giant black hole. And those planets was eventually explored, and that mission was called Lazarus mission, as a reference for Lazarus from the Bible, the man that Jesus revived. But unfortunately, those expeditions, those 12 ships, never returned. Their mission was to find a planet suitable for colonization for the human race to survive. And some of the planets was deemed not suitable. Others were considering as potentially, but after that, they were ordered to put themselves in suspend animation for until a rescue team would eventually come up to find them. This pilot used to work for NASA at one point. He was hired because there were no other pilots that they could trust. And they took the last remaining ship through that portal to the other galaxy. They There's the thing. When they came to one of the planets, in the horizon, they looked. It looks like a mountain range. But it wasn't even mountains. It was waves. They were like, I would have to say maybe as 50 or maybe 100 feet tall. and they found each ship that they went to that galaxy first had a beacon that would signal that the planet was still potentially habitable, but some of them had stopped working. The first planet they went to, though, um, since that planet was a bit closer to the black hole, that meant the time dilation effect would were drastic. 1 hour on that planet would have meant 1 day on their own ship, and they were on the planet for at least I think it was 1 day, or there was something like that. But there was when they came back, the remaining pilot or astronaut on board the ship, I think it said that he had spent, what was it, 17 or 27 years alone. For him, it was years, but for them, only a few hours. But the planet was unsuitable for life because it was those huge waves, and it was impossible to know if there any life or any land on there. Then the second one they went to, it was not suitable either because they discovered what else? I would say a bunker, but more like a kind of like a ship container kind of thing in this style was left on the planet, and the astronaut in that expedition was still alive. He was in this pod for, well, I think a number of years, and he had done some extensive research on the planet that he was on if it was suitable for any colonization, because he believed what he were on was the actual frozen atmosphere surface, and that he believed below, through that ice, would have been a more the actual ground and more breathable atmosphere. He pretended, and he even faked the data to transmit back that his world was potentially, but eventually they discovered it wasn't even that. And they had chosen, there were two more worlds that they would go to, but only one small problem: fuel. They only had enough fuel for one visit for another planet. And one of those planets would actually also potentially be habitable. So they decided to go to that one. But there were some issues that happened. Well, let's say one of the female astronauts, well, actually, but she was only one, um, she went to the planet alone with one of those, they have a robot. Not the typical design as you think a robot, like a humanoid. Like this was more like a, if it stand right upright, it was like a square block. It had it had two things like look remove as legs, and it could talk. And while overall, she went to the planet, but the pilot, who was a single father, he he actually went back. He decided to return back to Earth, and when he came back, he was old. His own daughter, I think she was probably like 10 or 11 when he left. But he did send a message over time through that portal to the ship. And as the message came through, she had aged from 10 to mid 20s. And last time he saw her, she was probably like what, 40, not 40, but maybe as 80 or 90 years old. And himself was still in his, I had to say, maybe he was early 40s, but eventually, when he came back, so biologically, he was in his 40s, but chronically, he was 127 years old. And yeah, so And this his old mentor, after from the planet from Earth, in NASA, he claimed that he was working on something to solve a particular problem, some medical problem, but it turned out he had already solved it years ago. And the pilot or the other astronaut they found on this frozen world, he knew about it, and he literally confirmed to that. And to the pilot, he was, well, let's say he was furious. So that he had been sending out to space, realizing that the medical problem that was being used to eventually could save Earth or maybe humanity, well, even wouldn't have worked. I mean, in Interstellar, the movie, it's just the professor that the pilot's mentor, he had said that the pilot's daughter Murphy would be the last generation to live on planet before and also be the last one to suffocate. Because the Earth's atmosphere was not at the same level as oxygen as it was before. The oxygen level was as now is 21%. But in the movie, the percentage is not even 21. I think it's less than that. I think it could have been like 18 or maybe 15% or something, because majority of the atmosphere consisted of nitrogen. The blight, the one that causing many of the food crops to die, was thriving was releasing nitrogen in the atmosphere and not oxygen. So, but eventually, Murphy, she solved the problem a different way. So it seems that the remaining population decided to leave Earth before it was too late. And this female astronaut who was a part of the last crew, the planet he went to were Earth-like, had our oxygen atmosphere, breathable atmosphere. So they and another thing is that there were two plans. Plan A was to find a world that they could find and colonize. Plan B, it was to using as what's it called? It worked. Embryos. They would have this incubators for embryos to grow in order to grow them, and she would be like the mother for all those children, and eventually she would teach them how to, and they would repeat the same thing because the ship had containers up to as I think it was 4,000 embryos they would bring with them as a plan B if the first plan didn't work. So, well, so the main pilot he decided after he saw his daughter was in her 80s or 90s, and since Earth was abandoned by this point, and uh, and since he had no reason to stay behind on that, so he decided to take a one fighter jet or some kind of spaceship or what he had, along with one of those robots, and go to the planet where this female astronauts were. Because, well, who would not be surprised? He had fallen in love with her, and she was the daughter of the professor, his mentor. Another thing is, the pilot, he later come to realize that this mysterious portal that opened at uh, at Saturn's orbit wasn't natural. It wasn't even a natural phenomena. Someone put it there, meaning someone, because the pilot and his robot companion, they um they were pulled in this portal through the ship, and they end up in sort of some form of dimensional, and he going to realize the creators of this kind of three-dimensional realm they were in were made of humans, but not the same type of humans as we are. But these humans were so advanced. So like they have probably had evolved at one point that they don't even need a physical body anymore. They can live as pure energy or something. I don't even know. And well, he realized that. And this pilot, he wasn't even aware that NASA was still officially operational. And he found out that his daughter claimed had given this coordinates from quote unquote a ghost because Earth was suffering a lot of sunstorms. Even the whole US had. And in her room there was this dots or lines that they figure out were representing numbers in coordinates. And the pilot, the father said it was some form of a gravitational anomaly, but the daughter Murphy said it was some form of ghost. But here's the plot twist: it was actually the father who made those when he were in that dimensional realm, and because he could travel backwards in time while he was in there and make those messages, the coordinates to for how to find NASA's headquarters, secret one, I mean. And also, he had also put this watch on a bookshelf, and somehow he had put this message in it so that those how to say the arms on the watch that moves to show time. One of them was moving back and forward in a certain pattern, and she figured out it was actually her father who left a message. That's how she found a way to solve the problem a different matter way, and that's how she convinced the rest of the population to, um, you know, to save them. But in the beginning of the movie, NASA, the professor told them that when the world was suffering from this short food shortage, knowing that most of the world crops were dying, a lot of people actually were considered to use nukes, literally nuking each other's countries in order to lower the population in order to save more people. But no one even did. I mean, it just in could this happen to real life, like a plague or a sort of a bacteria that can suffer to wipe out any edible plants in the world? Definitely, it could. I mean, this. I mean, just look at some of the more common things like a drought. A lot of farmlands can be completely devastated, and it happens. So, and would I recommend to be watching this the movie Interstellar? Hmm, well, yeah. I mean, if you're into sci-fi, and I also know that the fact that this movie actually have experts. I think it was astrophysics, another from NASA, among things, to make it more realistic as possible, like how the time field dilation works, and trust me, it's interesting. But and then other than that, but there is one movie franchise that we know which is impossible: Jurassic Park. Cloning dinosaurs are impossible. I mean, cloning animals like mammoths or other extinct animals, well, those are possible. But if like, oh yeah, oh, I mean, if some people are here like, how is it possible that mammoths or those can be brought back to life, but we're not dinosaurs? That's more simple answer: DNA, because it turns out DNA have is also a lifespan. How long it is still viable to be used? Certain type of DNA after, I mean, first of all, how much DNA would you even can extract from a dinosaur fossilized bone? Even if you manage to find a bone and it still has some any fossilized blood in it, you may think, oh yeah, I can use that to clone a dinosaur. Not really, you can't. And even you manage to find a fossilized dinosaur bone with some fossilized blood veins in it, if you want to find that, I have to say this in a very, I think it's extremely rare if you manage to find a bone with any form of blood veins that still can contain any potential DNA from use. But like I said, it's extremely rare for to find that type of fossil remains. What about the mammoths, though? Well, here's the thing: DNA breaks down slowly over time, and I think it was about 15 or was it 20 million years as a DNA would be unusable, completely useless. And for mammoths, no, that is not impossible because the mammoths died only like between 30 and 40,000 years ago. So, but here's the thing: even if we have found tons of remains of mammoths, frozen remains, is it possible just simply take a DNA sample from that and clone? Not really either, because even that there are more potentially better chance of cloning a mammoth and dinosaur, even in their frozen condition, also breaks down DNA. It is, and the fact, despite how many remains they found on mammoths over for the past say 30 to 40 years, only they had each DNA sample they had taken had been sent to South Korea, which has one of the best cloning facilities in the world, which also had a program where deciding had to decide to clone back a mammoth. But most of the DNA that were brought back has, I think, 0.001 or 2% viability. And that number is unfortunately too low for even to extract any viable DNA to be used for clone a dinosaur or a mammoth. They need at least, I think, was it 0.1 or 2%, which is much better chance. The better chance that they could find some of a mammoth, a frozen sperm or something they can use to revive. But unfortunately, that's not happened. But strange enough, back in 2015, I believe, was it 2015 or 2016, a Russian team actually found a frozen mammoth. When they lifted the carcasses off the ground for the permafrost, they noticed a red spot on the ground beneath. There was blood. So they took an ice pick and shoved it right in the stomach of the mammoth, and the blood was pouring out in a liquid state. And blood could be but more potentially be used for more viable DNA for cloning mammoth. Well, as blood happens to be as most cells, and including blood cells, in extreme cold, like in liquid nitrogen, the blood cells will burst. But there's still potentially that they could reviving a mammoth. But since there are no living mammoths anymore, they have thought of been using the Asian elephant, which is the closest living relative. So if that would happen, if that they managed to bring back a mammoth from that way, that would be in half elephant, half mammoth. It will take maybe as 3 or 4 generations in order to be a full blood mammoth, and that would like be in 100 years or so. So we had to wait. If they managed to do so, we had to wait 100 years in order to seeing a full blood mammoth. And there are in fact many animals that people want to bring back to life, like well, except for dinosaurs, but mammoths, saber-tooth tiger, um, dodo bird, and a few others I can come up with. Um, but someone like, what about trying to bring back, say, an extinct human species like the Neanderthals? We have found tons of their bones, and some are so good condition, and that, well, even the fact that we have found the DNA from those, it's also, like I said, over time, the DNA breaks down. And here's the thing: we had only found bones. We haven't even found any frozen remains, like a frozen mummy with the skin, all that remains left. No, we haven't. But you probably, guys, to probably have heard of Ötzi, the Iceman from the Alps. Here, well, that is one thing about him. He is actually also, you know, he had been in frozen ice since the Bronze Age, and that's several thousands of years. At least he had been frozen much shorter compared to the Neanderthals. Well, despite being in frozen ice, he still potentially could be brought back to life by cloning. But that's not happening though. But the thing about him, the people that have been worked on him, while examining him and all that, mysteriously died. No one knows. Some people call it the curse of the Iceman Utsi. Well, that includes not the hikers that found him. I don't really know if they died or anything, but the scientists, they actually took a DNA sample of him and compared from a number of men from a nearby region. I think it was in the Tyrol region. Surprising enough, those men, well, not all of them, but some of the men actually really related to Ötzi. I mean, it could have been like a long distant ancestor. And those men, they weren't even informed about it. So, knowing that, it's, you know, shocking. So, Mr. Cody, what have you been up to? Yeah, I mean, winning lottery for this year. Yeah, I mean, I'm saying this right now, Cody. At least so far, you, me, Game Guy, and some more other friends have been having a good time and at least good fortune. Unlike my girlfriend, which had the misfortune to have been given to get COVID recently, along with her mother, but not her brother, since he is negative. So, as her terms for she is well, as a friendly term, she's not feeling that well, but as in her words, feeling like shit. So yeah, I know what it's like since even though when I had COVID, even before vaccination, I felt like I had just a common cold, not much. But my dad otherwise was the most devastating of it. Oh boy, he could even if he was going to downstairs into the staircase, he was forbidden for that because he could barely walk. I mean, if he stood up, he probably felt so dizzy enough he would probably fell backwards or you forward. That bad it was. I mean, he could even if he had to use the restroom, he had to crawl on all fours. That bad was it. So, and since at the time we had a small dog. Well, unfortunately, we had to put her down since she went died, but it bad this last August actually. So if that happened, I was the one who had to take her out for walks. Even though I was sick with COVID, and I did actually went out for walks with her, and I had to. I mean, I didn't mean me or doing it, or my mom had to because we couldn't both go out. But someone had to remain inside because I look after my dad at the time. And yet, before anyone reacts, how did you go outside if you're positive COVID? Well, I made sure to avoid people the 100%. If I saw any people nearby, I just took a different direction. I never approached much people like that. Though I did in fact go to a convenience store nearby when I was COVID, but post COVID, but only one time. But they had this plastic screen of the by the counter. So I know, bad, stupid idea to do, but I had to do something. I mean, but mostly I took a dog out for walks since I had to. And if we needed something to eat or do some grocery shopping, well, we didn't go to the store. Not, I mean, I didn't even do that, but my brother, he did. Since he lived up by his own place at the time, and still do, so we texted him to say that he could buy this for us, and he used to put down the front from the front door, and we could just grab it and take it in. But he also did it for my sister. She did, and they went to bus shopping for us. And well, I mean, when I had COVID, though, normally I would eat, I mean, probably between 6 or 8 times a day. But when I had COVID, it was probably, I don't know, 2, 3 times, or worst case, just only one time a day. And in fact, I didn't even felt like if I had COVID. In fact, I was very convinced I just had the cold or the flu. I mean, can anyone say that much because flu and COVID had these basic symptoms? So it was easy to convince from to be believing that. But my parents were strongly believing it was COVID. So in order to convince myself to being otherwise proven it wrong, it took having this DNA having tested. So I went, took a blood test, and eventually got a result back, and I had antibodies for COVID. So that meant I had COVID. But yeah, so I even told my fighting goddess that if I was there right now with her family, despite having COVID, would I even stay there? Hell yeah. Even if I wasn't been sick, well, that would be my fault. That would be all my fault, not her. I mean, her mom is feeling the worst. She's barely getting out of the bed or something. But they also had called some other family members in the area to inform them that not coming into their house now that they have COVID. Even though her brother is negative for COVID, but he still can carry the virus. So that happens. I mean, I know that some people when they get COVID, they're feeling very terrible, like so bad that they have been, if they're almost like they're dying. Others felt like nothing. It says nothing in much difference. Like myself, I didn't feel any particular difference at all. I felt pretty still energetic, while more or less I was more like tired. I mean, I mean, as a game guy, when he had COVID, oh boy, that was complete opposite. He was like, "I'm super hungry. I want to eat that." When he told me that, I was like, "Dude, there's no way you can actually have that effect on being like having COVID." But well, I mean, to be fair, everyone reacted differently to the virus. Some may feel so like they're, excuse my friend language, but there's some that felt so shitty. Others felt, like I said, nothing as much a difference. Others felt like they just have a sad cold. Others, like Game Guy, felt that's very hungry. I mean, who knows? COVID is not a thing that you're to play around with. And I thought that the mortality rate of COVID was 0.3% or something. It isn't. I think it last time I looked at it was around 1% actually, and that's a bit higher than usual. And wow, 1 hour. Despite I only had left and half an hour left, and the stream isn't even over. You've been coming up with different movie ideas for future when I'm a filmmaker. Well, Cody, even if you won't be, you know, a famous movie maker like Steven Spielberg or something like that, even you're maybe famous in the local area, still have the potential to work on that. Even you may not be as famous like many others, like well, Stephen King or Steven Spielberg, George Lucas. You can still be a movie maker, even be known in the public area. Think about it. In fact, there were actually one. Okay, in fact, I'm not a huge fan of zombie movies, but there was actually one local man who actually was a movie director. He actually made his own version of uh, a zombie movie, something like pieces of mercury rain down on Earth, which caused people to turn to zombies. I was like, okay. And did I watch it? Well, not in the movie theater since I wanted to go to, but missed the chance. But somehow, all luck though, I managed to see the movie online. But unfortunately, I can't see it anymore. I think it was something like Evolution's End. And yeah, I prefer not even to watch zombie movies, to be honest. Not my top cup of tea. I mean, despite that, I have seen a lot of zombie movies over the years. Like, um, you know, uh, actually two British zombie movies. 28 Days Later, 28 Weeks Later, and a few others. But there's one zombie movie, Warm Bodies. It's not like a typical zombie movie that's your think of. It's more like different. This is more like a romance type of love story. I was like, what? And the fact that the zombies actually, if they ate someone's brain, they could literally gain the access to that person's memories. But here's the plot twist. This young man was nicknamed R. He was a zombie, but eventually he slowly and slowly turned back to a living person. And that was weird. Have you seen the TV show The Walking Dead? Uh, a little bit actually, but not much my favorite thing to do to watch. I wasn't much my thing though. But I know that they made a spin-off, Fear of this, Fear the First, where they showing how this zombie outbreak started. And they were originally planning two movies with Rick as the main character in this, as continued after season 11 was ending. But those movies was eventually cancelled. They were put on the shelf permanently. But they decided to make another spin-off with Rick as the main character, along with his wife, I believe, or girlfriend or fiance, the one that the katana sword, to being released sometime this year, I believe. Um, but yeah, I'm not going even to watch that one though. It's just not my thing. But there's one thing I just definitely going to watch this year, which is Has-Been Hotel on Prime, which will be released January 19th. Oh, oh, how can I not forget Avatar, The Last Airbender on Netflix sometimes this year as well. All I can say is 8 episodes is made. And I don't know if Cody knows this, but they're actually planning for a movie of The Last Airbender in next year, being released October 10th. And the same actors, same characters, not same voice actors. They're on the actor the characters are in their, I think, early to late 20s, and this are going to take place around a few years after that. But as far as I know, Toph, Sokka, and Katara in it. Of course, Suko. Um, but the others like Suki, no idea. Only been revealed the main trailer or the main photo or art signed like a poster of it, but that's all I know. I mean, like 2 years from now, Star Wars are having a new movie is gonna be released, but they hadn't even revealed the actual title. I mean, it's unlikely it's gonna be Star Wars Episode 10. After all, they revealed Episode 9 is gonna be the last in the Star Wars saga. So if this new movie is gonna be released, but involves Rey. As far as I know, what I've been told, or at least figure out, is that she is the Jedi Master. She is trying to rebuild the Jedi Order, and this series is set to place on 15 years after Episode 9, around year 50 ABY. But she's struggling in order to rebuild this for this is during the post-war era. And I mean, I don't I don't really know, but there's something that's is in the rising. I don't even know if I don't even know, to be honest, what's gonna happen. But I know that Lando Calrissian, he is actually going to give in his own movie. I would like, why, why? I mean, he's a cool character. I mean, I admit to that, but it's just, is it really worth it though? I mean, we have Han Solo Rogue backstory when he was young, how he became part of a small gang on his own planet Corellia, and eventually, how he ended up in the Empire, how he met Chewie, and so on. Yeah, that is just, and how the Rogue One, how they, because in back in Star Wars Episode 4, they have been revealed that a detail that was some people that went to find those blueprints, schematics for Death Star. But throughout the time, no one actually, there was no mentioning of how, which team or what name or the call sign had. But when they made the movie called Rogue One, they discovered it's just that. They at least revealed how how, um, how they came across this, um, the blueprints and all that. And I don't know what to be honest though. And knowing that Star Wars is gonna making, I think up to a total of 10 or 12 new movies for next upcoming years. Yeah, they're apparently planning for at least a dozen more movies over the next several years. But they hadn't even given, none of those movies had even given it any form of um, any official release date. Only a few, actually. One is supposed being released 2025. One is 2027, and one was I thought it was supposed to be released last year, but that didn't happen. Okay. Um, but one of those movies are, well, it hasn't been given any official title, but it involves the Jedi Order from the first original, how it started. I would not be surprised if on the actual planet Acto, the same planet that Luke were in episode 7 to 9. Well, actually 8, but yeah. It's just that. But there were one Star Wars special movie that most people doesn't like at all. 1977 Christmas Special. Trust me, I have seen it, and it's a bit funny, but probably not the same. For once, for once, we can actually see Chewie's wife, his son, Lumpy, which is his nickname, and even his father, who is white in fur, not brown. I mean, they turn white or something like that, and yeah, it's kind of a little bit surprising in that happened. Mel Gibson as a Star Wars character, if it plays an act in a character in the movies, mm, if he doing that, if he played in the early movies, I could consider seeing him either as a smuggler like Han Solo, a friend of his, or maybe a Rebel Alliance soldier, or even a third option. He could have been either Imperial officer that worked for the Empire, or he could have been a retired bounty hunter. Who knows? Yeah, I mean yeah, it's possibly. Oh, about Avatar. You guys probably don't know this, but you guys have you seen the episode where we seeing several when they are in in Bossing Sea, the Bossing Sea, when we're seeing how the days are for each of the characters of the main characters, how they do the day. When we're seeing this, I think there was a cat when this young girl who was looking for her pet, but how she saw that she was in the cat was in the zoo. I think she was like light pink clothes and a hat and this like a um, yellow ball or something on their hat. If you're, do you guys remember that? Um, yeah, but it was it turned out that girl actually was based on a real person. Shocking enough though, because it turned out that this girl, she was suffering from cancer at the time. She was a young girl that loved Avatar. And she and her family reached out to this Make a Wish Foundation, and they made it possible to that she could meet the creators of Avatar show and even the voice actors. And to be her surprising, they even made a character of her in the Avatar show, and that was her, the girl in that zoo looking after her cat when they were in Bossing Sea. I was really surprised that that would even happen. And since she had cancer, she didn't die. She made it pull through, and how did I know that? Well, um, her former high school boyfriend actually made a post. I think it was on Reddit about that, and it's impressive how that happened. And about this Avatar movie that's going to be released next year, it's going to be the same style as the original series is, hand drawn, but there will be some, I think, some form of 3D or CGI special effects in some things. I don't even know how they meant, but something like that. And documentary about Alaska, who would become the 49th state of the U.S. You know, not interested. That's not a bad place to consider to do it. Knowing at the list, there are in fact one place in Alaska that many people actually gone to, a former town, Portlock, which now, if you ever even go there, you wouldn't find nothing, no buildings whatsoever. The whole town was abandoned in the early 1900s because of Bigfoot. Yep, apparently a Bigfoot did terrify the people there long enough. It just, this particular Bigfoot literally grabbed hunters in the woods and they were never seen again. Well, most, not all of them, but some did was in a turn up dead, completely ripped apart, floating in the rivers. But others who went in the woods but never seen again. This Bigfoot was so terrifying a lot. So eventually, in early, how say it was, I think it was in 1930s or 1950s, I believe. And it was like that in the not in early 1900s when the people had enough. They abandoned it, just left, and uh, and the people that did move from that town moved to a nearby small town. And if they want to go back and rebuild Portlock, they can because those people still own the land around the former Portlock. And so far, most people doesn't even go even near that place. Not because they want to be bringing the wrath of Harryman. Yep, this Bigfoot's name is literally Harryman. I know it's not an original name, but so it's something like that. Huh. Robert Freeman asked, "Do you think Cozy Globe is Diamond Tiara's cousin?" Oh, whoa. Dude, first of all, I never even thought of that. But well, since kind of do in fact have almost same code color, so I would have to say it's not impossible. But if there were, cousins, they probably would have mentioned that in a series. Though I don't think, or at least as far as I know, that there were no interaction between Diamond Tiara and Kozuko. I mean, since Diamond Tiara was not even a student at the School of Friendship, and but I do know that for one thing, they were around the same age as Diamond Tiara. But even if she is, that also depends on how close cousin that she is. She could have been like the first cousin or second cousin twice removed, or even third cousin twice removed, or third times removed, or something like that. And boy, don't even start me on how that things even start, because that type of system we don't even. I don't mean in those terms like cousin of twice removed. Yeah, we don't even use the same reference as a term in my country. We have how I say a different words in describing that. And boy, don't let me even start on that one. That it's just confusing. Even I get confused on like that. Oh boy. But Diamond is Kosiglo's cousin. Yeah, it's potentially possible that they could be, but also depend on how close related they are. It could have been just. I mean, like it depends on from which side of the family. If it's from her, if it's from Cozy's, sorry, if it's from Diamond dad's family, or if from her mother's side of the family. If it's either paternal or maternal. So if it's from a maternal side, it's possible. I mean, considering at least one thing, Diamond mother is sharing the same coat color as Diamond and as Cozy Glow. So I have to say this more likely that if she's cousin with Diamond it's likely that she's from her mother's side. Because we know that, I know at least that Filthy Rich has no siblings at all. At least that they never mentioned of. If there were any mentioning of that, I probably have to say they're probably non-canon. But Cozy Glow as Diamond cousin is potentially, yeah. I think at least. Mm, speaking of, have you seen the storyboard versions of Fit Rage In, Fit Right In, Danger Danger from mm, storyboards versions? I don't think I have, but I've seen the songs. Um, I know that I had to. Okay, I had to tell Cody what happened yesterday, and boy, be glad that he wasn't even here. Oh, you know, during the stream, suddenly someone showed up in the backstage, and boy, it was not a good thing. I have to say that it went from 1 to 10 almost right in a second. Because this person I never added in the stream because I couldn't. Here's the thing. As Cody been using the private chat to talk, this person literally sent out 150 messages. Like this person or no, 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 correction. The bot. We know now for sure it is a bot. This bot literally sent over 150 the letter L in a private chat. Like literally letter L. I was like, what? What the heck is going on? And as in those as in the small square where you can unmute and mute someone, you can see like if I click on that, I can see where who is the person is. Like say where the full name and if they're authenticated from YouTube or anything like that. I could try to click on it, but it didn't work. It didn't even work at all. Seriously, it didn't even work. I tried. I tried and tried to click on to see who this person was, and it didn't work. So I tried to go backwards. That didn't even help either. And at the search bar, when you put a website's address in, I clicked on it and tried to just put the button enter at least 3 or 4 times. It didn't have no effect at all. So I had to literally close down the whole link like 3 times, literally 3 times. And I managed, when I get to come back the first time, I managed to kick this person out. No, correction. I banned this bot. But then two more showed up and did the same damn thing. Literally. The second time, there was the number of messages in the private chat was over 200. So I banned that bot and the third bot. You guys, I mean, Cody probably would have been shocked when that happened. Like, I mean, if he was in the stream or watching it, I mean, if he heard me, how to say, I was pissed off, really pissed off. I was just seeing red. So, yeah. So that's why I made Game Guy as a moderator for my channel for my streams. But I have to say this: if if this those bots had returned and kept doing the same thing, I would have put my streams on hold. And how long, I have no freaking idea. Could have been weeks, or at least a couple of days, to a few weeks, or even a month. But the worst case scenario, it would have been permanently. So at least hoping those bots never show up. I never heard, sorry, I never had this type of problem before or since after that. Well, before then. But I did warn Game Guy Malachite, who was there at the time also, that this could happen to them if they would have just been warned that they could have the same thing. I mean, I have been doing that my streams for over a year. Over a year. I had no problems until now with this. We did actually have one that's someone called the Nameless One. And we managed to figure out it wasn't a bot. It was an actual person, but it was a person that we know quite well, Lord Assidious. He was joking around with us, but I mean, oh boy. At least I come clean about it and never done it that since, but boy, boy, was I mad yesterday. I didn't expect even I didn't even think I would even get much sleep. But boy, I was so furious. Ugh. You don't want to hear me that. Nope. Anyways, what if Last Dawn was the daughter of Twilight and Sunburst? Potentially, yeah. I mean, considering that Last Dawn have the same, almost the same identical coat color as Sunburst, but yeah, I do believe it's possible that she could actually be in their daughter or Starlight. It's even there are a lot of consequent potential theories, all that. So, and for also, I have been doing my own theory videos for the past, I don't know, maybe a year or so. I don't know, something like that. And I always ask in the end of each video if any of my viewers or my fans have any idea, any opinions or their own thoughts of what can happen or like that. But well, to be honest, I never got any response to that, except for one, I believe. And so I might simply stop doing my theory videos of MLP characters or any theme like that. So I mean, it's not like not because I don't get response to my videos. It just I literally ran out of ideas of potential fairy videos or like that. So that's it. I don't think King Sombra is dead. I just think he's transferred his consciousness to Flurry Heart. My opinion on that, it is absolute not possible. It's, I mean, it's possible, but I don't think it's that he did. I mean, we don't even know how does even work. Here's the thing. In the comics, which to me, non-canon sources, in one particular series that is at Siege of Crystal Empire, um, Sombra had, along with Iron Wheel, um, who else? Chrysalis, and some more, I believe. They took over Crystal Empire, and they, in the end, they he begged. He literally begged Celestia, Luna, Twilight, Cadence, and even Starlight to use the Crystal Heart to turn him to an actual unicorn, and it did. And with his own childhood friend, Radiant Hope, they went out in the world to search for the pieces of the fragments of that were once part of the petrified Princess Amor, direct ancestor to Cadence. Somehow, I don't even know how this even. They never mention it. So, and also there were in fact this other comic series based on some of the bad guys' characters like Terek, Chrysalis, and even Sombra and the Sirens. And in some of our story backstory, he was born or at least created as an Umbra or Shadow Pony type, and that he was well led to that. And as I said, in the siege of Crystal Empire, he was turned into an actual living unicorn. But when we saw him returning back in season 8, when quote unquote Discord, like Grogar, brought him back, he was still a Shadow Pony. And that means that story of the back siege of Crystal Empire was not canon. It's not a canonical story because it makes no make sense. It doesn't even make no sense at all, considering that in that story he would turn into an actual living unicorn. But in season 8, he was still as a shadow pony. So did he die in season 7, season 8 premiere? Nope, I don't think so. I mean, he didn't have a physical body, and I don't think he never actually had any physical body. I believe he's more like has always been like a mist type of life form. So I don't think he literally have an actual physical body like us. So is he dead? I don't think so. I believe it's more like he's been just weak enough or something. So that potentially could make him return back in G5 or G6 or something like that. Who knows? But um, but yeah, would you believe Spike might have been married to either Smolder or Rarity for the events of G5? Um, I believe it's possible that Cody that um um it might possibly a possibility that he might just end up being with Smolder, since even though even though Spike did mention in um you know he did mention that he was forced to leave his friends behind, had to force to leave his friends after what Opaline did. So it's possible that with other dragons like Smolder return back to Dragonlance, aka Isoscaly, which also called S-Cole that is now known, and that it's possible that he end up with Smolder. But it's also possible that he could have been with Rarity at the time. And even if they were married, it's I don't even know. I mean, just imagine from this point of view. If he was still with Rarity at the time of Opaline's shenanigans trying to take over Equestria, it's possible that they could either been just been start dating or were dating and and may have talked about getting married. But if this happened just before they even got married, then well, it's easy that he could have just decided to break up with her in order to save her and to save his own kind from being taken over by Opaline. And I know that that would have been hard for even from him, being away from someone that he finally had admitted his feelings and have been start being to for a while. But if they were actually married, since we don't even know if a pony can actually marry another creature like a dragon, since well, we never actually there were no matching in the series of any different relationship between different species. So we even don't even know that's possible. But if he was married with Rarity, if here are two scenarios. One, they could simply have filed for divorce and had it finalized before he moved to the Dragonlance for the other dragons. Or two, He could have just simply told Rarity that he had to go, that had to do this in order to save the dragons from being taken over by Opaline, even though they were still in fact married. And knowing that when he or other dragons went to the islands, the okay, to Dragonlance, they were all into this deep magical hibernation. So that meant if that happened, she would have still been married with Spike until she died, and she was unable to meet her husband. But even if they were married, and even if she did travel to Dragonland to see him, he would have already been in this deep magical sleep. As Tumble, one of the dragons, said, it would take them weeks to waken up their magical sleep. So, so I don't believe if Spike was did married Rarity, I don't even think he would just simply leave her and go to Dragonlance to be with the other dragons without even still be married with her. Not because that he didn't want to be heartbroken or even to be, how to say, heartless. That he preferred to be much more cared about the dragons and not his own wife. I do think that, well, I do believe more that if they were married, it's more likely that they filed for divorce even at the time of when they had to leave Equestria than the dragons. I think it's possible that it could either been left Equestria before that happened. But at the same time, it's very difficult to tell if Spike were married or even engaged with Rarity when he left for this Dragonlance. I mean, first, since he did mention that he and others were in this magical hibernation for centuries, and I don't know exactly how soon they went to sleep as soon as they arrived to the island, but just assuming sometime just shortly after they arrived in Dragonlance, that sometime after that they had just settled in, they went to sleep, and they just instant so deep. As Tumble did say, it would have taken a few weeks for them to wake up in their magical sleep. So I don't think Rarity and Spike would have been married if he did just leave her behind. Because if she did leave and went to see him on Dragonlance, he more likely wouldn't be in this deep sleep. And what kind of heart would he do that if knowing that his wife was had to could come back and see him, and that, well, it would be hard for her to even to see her husband in such deep sleep without even being able to talk to him, and that he wouldn't even have known when she passed away, and that he wouldn't have been able to be there for her funeral. Just imagine that, though. And when he wakes up after that, all those centuries, realizing all that had been, he had been asleep for centuries. I think maybe it's 300 or 400 years, well, most of 300 years or so, and that he realized all of his friends are long gone. So, assuming that he were in fact knowing the from one thing, the last problem from G4, knowing how much that he was much older in that episode compared to one of his previous ones. So it's possible they could have been dating even then. And when Opaline came and started causing this problem for everyone, it's possible that Rarity and Spike could have been in this long-term relationship, and they couldn't either been already been engaged and planning for getting married. And then when Opaline showed up and caused these such problems, even though that she is defeated by Twilight and her friends, and even though that Twilight knows, or Spike knows that he had to leave with the other dragons and with the Dragonstone in order to keep them safe from Opalines. So if they were married, I don't think that would be very hard for them. They probably had to file for the divorce even before then. I mean, just imagine. How would you guys felt if you would have to be away for your forced leaving your wife behind, and you had been put in a deep sleep in order to keep you and the other dragons and the Dragonstone safe from Opaline. I mean, yeah, I would have been tears myself. And not only that, Spike wouldn't have even been there for her when she is getting older, eventually passed away, be her by her side on her deathbed, and even being on her funeral. I mean, and when he wakes up, he realized his wife had long passed, and he will felt heartbroken, even though he never has even shown it. I mean, what kind of life would it be for him? Even so, I mean, Spike may act cold or just simply stone faced, as some people will call it. But seriously, I don't believe that Spike would even do that. But I do in fact believe more that Spike probably would have been, simply, you know, could have either just been dating Rarity. They might the possibility also that he was planning to propose to her, or they could have already been engaged, and they perhaps even could start talking about starting a family, though we don't even know if it was possible for a dragon and a pony in the official series to have any offspring together. I mean, look in the fan fiction stories like that. Some like say Discord and Frontier, for example. But I'm just saying, if there was possibility that Rarity and Spike were already in this deep long-term relationship and either being engaged or planning, or that he was planning to propose to her, and that they were planning to start a family one day in the future. And what if they happened around the time when Opaline showed up, causing this much issues? And when that happened, it simply would have put a hold on all their future plans, either just temporarily or permanently. I can't say for certain right now about that, but just imagine Spike and Rarity are dating. They're planning to get married or even probably are already engaged and probably have been talking for the upcoming wedding or haven't even set a date for the wedding, but just talking about it and just talking about it and suddenly this mysterious figure showing up turned out to be Opaline and just for instance trying to cause much problem for the society. And with that much problem, well, in that Spike had been informed that Opaline had targeted dragons for the fire, which she did in G5. So, given the thought that if that happened, that Opaline showed up when that happened, just only imagine what Spike and Rarity would have felt. I mean, after that they had defeated her, but that the dragons had to be forced to leave Equestria and leave for Dragonlance or Isle of Scaly, what they call itself now though in G5, in that they had to stay there in a magical hibernation in order to keep themselves and his Dragonstone safe from Opaline. And that means that even he had to go with the other dragons in order to keep them safe. Because they might also be around the time that Spike had been chosen as the new Dragon Lord. I don't even know when or how that was even possible. So as we know, Dragon Lords are not a title that's just simply passed down for just like that. They had to be earned from those tests. But anyways, it's possible that Spike and Rarity has been already been in this long-term relationship already ever since at the end of G4. But at the same time, we don't even know for sure if they were already engaged or they were talking about getting married or something. If they were talking about getting married, just imagine that. If there were talks about getting married, well, and having the plans, even though even though they had even perhaps even set a date for the actual wedding. Just that. So if they had even set a date for the wedding and they were just talking about it and talking about having a family together, and suddenly this mysterious figure showing up just causing such problems, and that also put a hold on their wedding plans for maybe temporarily to its permanent. So my strongest opinion is that they were already been in this long-term relationship. Yes. Would they could have they been either been engaged? Likely. Very likely they could have been engaged. Could it have been married? I don't think so. But I'm more likely they have been engaged and been together for quite a while. They could have been talking about getting married after this and like that, and realizing that Spike had to go with other dragons and protect his stone and everything from Opaline, which meant had also caused a problem to the separations from them. But I do believe that Rarity, even though she was crying that now she's losing her fiance, is a very possibility that even though that she has been forced to be breaking up their engagement like that, but their love between each other will still be remain in their hearts. It is just something that I can't understand why. But I do fact believe that they were together at the time of Opaline's causing the problems. I wouldn't even call it shenanigans. It it would even I mean it would even classifies. I mean it would even those particular events would even count as shenanigans. I mean, when you think like shenanigans, you think like more simple pranks like that. But I'm more like a disaster. What's it? So I do believe that Spike and Rarity were dating for a while, and even though we never saw that in G4 in the last episode, I mean they could have been dating in off screen. So it's possible they had all been dating for a while, either been engaged or they were, or simply that Spike was planning to propose to her, and that was Opaline showed up. And as Cody said in the private chat, probably because maybe Opaline also hated romance. That is possible because in her opinion, she would refuse to have a united Pony society. She wanted to rule the whole kingdom with fear and iron fist, or in this term, iron hoof. I don't know sort of, but um, but yeah, I don't believe that since Opaline doesn't even care of anything else. All she wanted power, power, magic. All that she wanted and all she cared about. She literally didn't care about families, romance, or anything at all. Not even friendship. I mean, it's like she wouldn't be like a future version of Chrysalis because Chrysalis was pretty much the same thing. She despised friendship. In her words, friendship is a disease. So, yeah, Cody is right. Opaline has more likely hated romance. In fact, even though that she had what those together trees in on her own castle, and when she found Misty after she was lost, she thought that the tree would grow when now she had quote unquote a friend, but it didn't work. She never, well, uh, it's just that. I think maybe it's just 2 hour mark, not more than that. Uh, so yeah. Um, you know, and also about this. All of you may have heard about this new Tell Your Tale of G5 on YouTube series. Yep. Episode 70 was actually the last of season 1. But they actually have renewed it for a second season. And exactly how many episodes and when the second season will be released on YouTube, I don't know. All as far as I know, only a second season had been renewed for Tell You Tell web series. That's it. But I do know for one thing, Alora, this flying snow leopard, will be back in a second season. And Spike, potentially, I do fact believe that he will also be in it. And there is also another possibility for a second flying snow leopard, which I hopefully it might be possibility, and that would have been Alora's brother. And in fact, he has a brother, but we don't even know how he even looks like or his name. All we know that he has a brother and that his voice was echoing in this Starlight Ridge area. Okay, I have always assumed that Starlight Ridge was a whole different country of of ponies, or maybe another dimension, like the between the human world and Equestria. But it turned out there was not even that at all. It's just a different other part of Equestria, but just further away. I was actually intrigued that they had introduced a new type of ponies in the series. I mean, back in it for G4, Pegasus, Unicorn, Earth Pony, Alicorns, and now in also Crystal Ponies, and now this Aurora Corns. It's interesting name. But what do I hope for is going to happen in the second season of Tell Your Tale? Well, more likely that Laura will be definitely returning since she's now the new main villain of G5. Spike, hopefully do, but there is one other character I really want to happen. Discord. Yeah, since Discord is definitely still alive even after all this time. How do I know that? Well, they actually made a G3, a G5 comic series where the this fly Pegasus crystal was taken by Discord himself. And I often say that the comics based on the MLP series are not canon. But I do say this G5 comic series are definitely 100% canon, not otherwise. And ever since G5 was released, there's probably been a lot of questions in some people's minds like, will we ever see a zebra? Well, technically not in the actual show, no. And in the Tell You Tale, not sure. But in a comic book series recently that was released sometimes last year, introducing characters of zebras. So zebras apparently still will be part of G5. But I hope that they can be in a list about maybe in the Telltale. But there is one thing that some people probably ask. Since we know that Opaline came to Equestria just to steal the magic from all the others, she, along with Celestia and Luna, were from Skyros, the other a country or a nation state. We don't even know. But could this be the same place where all the pumas came from before they founded Equestria? Um, Possible, but also not. It could also been as 50-50 on that one. We don't even know. But we know that for sure that that Opaline was banished from Skyros. Why? Well, isn't obvious? She tried to steal the magic from Equestria, so very likely that she would steal the magic from those pumas in or the alicorns in Skyros. But here's another thing: we don't even know if Skyros is still populated by other alicorns. It's a possibility that Skyros could have been abandoned. Maybe, maybe that Opaline did something and caused all the alicorns were just gone. And are they immortal? Well, I mean, Opaline claimed that she was immortal, but I don't know. Do you think we will see the real Grugar in G5? Um, hmm, don't know. Don't know. But it would be cool if they do. But here's the thing though. We have no idea how many seasons they're planning to do for Tell You Tale, the web series on YouTube. As far as I know, there's at least a second season has been renewed. But there is another possibility that might potentially could happen in G5 in the second season, which would have been kind of amazing if it did. That Opaline, that Queen Haven and Apple Barrel getting married. So that would mean that Missy were getting two new sisters. That would be amazing. I mean, they already since Apple Barrel and Queen Haven is already in a relationship, so why not maybe take the next step of them getting married at one point? Because in one episode of the series, of the web series, Opaline, I want to say Opaline for, man, where Haven actually had invited Alpha Battle. At first, Miss Pip and Sep were, well, how to say, they were a little bit against the whole thing about their mother been dating. Well, not because they didn't like it. It just they thought that he was interrupting their special day. But in the end, I think they actually more or less accepted her. Him, not her, but I do believe, and I really hope that they could make a special 5 minutes episode in this series where Queen Haven and Alpha Barrel do in fact get married. But there are in fact maybe just one question. What about the previous king? What about their father? What is he? Is he still alive? Is he divorced from her? Or is he dead? Or has he left Zephyr Heights at some point? We don't even know because he never mentioned throughout the entire series or in the movies. As far as we know, nothing else about him. And even those royal portraits of the family, there's only been seen Queen Haven, Pip and Sip, and when they were younger, but no scene. And since each portrait was made 10 years apart, so even 10 years earlier, there were no sign of any king at all. So it's possible that the king may not even been alive anymore. So if he's dead, well, who knows? I really hope that they could at least mention him, or at least maybe I see a portrait with Queen Haven and her late husband or something. If Gurugar do in fact return or appears in G5, he should be voiced by maybe Mark Hamill. Well, Mark Hamill actually is a good actor, and I see a theory that Starlight is Misty's mother. Um, well, it's possible, but at the same time, even if she would have been turned in, okay, if she would have been turned into an alicorn, as an example, um, it's very unlikely that she would have been immortal. I don't believe turned alicorn would even live forever. I don't think they would have been technically and even as officially immortal. I think they maybe just have a little bit longer lifespan, maybe just 100 years longer or something. But unless unless it's Starlight traveled in the future, which has happened that she used a spell that Starsworld once made, but that spell on the scroll was eventually destroyed, unless that she remembered the spell. So if Starlight would have been the mother of Misty, it's very likely that she was had traveled in the future, unless that she put herself some form of magical sleep. But who knows? Hitch with Sunny or Sip in the future. I would have to say more about like with Sip. But if I were to have to say the most, Hitch with Misty. Why? Well, in the G5, in the last chapter, there is one scene of her with Hitch and having Sparky between them when they're skating on ice skating, and they look like they're almost like a family. So I have to say I strongly have a better opinion about Hitch would be Misty. But of course, I respect other people's opinions if they want him with other Sunny, Pip, or Sip. I in fact also have planning to make stories with Hitch, with Sip, Pip, and Sunny, and eventually Misty at one point. When? I have no idea. Because currently I'm still working on my newest story, and boy, and oh boy, it's a long one. So far, I am at the 2 hours and 2 minutes mark, and that's not even done with long shot. And how long it's gonna be? 3 hours? Doubt it. I didn't want to put so much work on it, but I think maybe just around 2.5 hours. Not. And if anyone asks, would I even consider do any 2 hour stories like that and get any future? Potentially, yeah. But it we will see. We will see when that happens. We just don't know. you know, G5 was really interesting series. Even though when they first announced there's gonna be a whole new generation, back then I was like, "What? Are you serious?" And I was not the only one. There were mixed feelings within the whole fandom. I mean, can I even blame for that though? Having a one series nearly 10 years, for nearly 10 years, and suddenly a whole new generation, and at least thank goodness they decided to focus on still continue off from G4, because as on the staff or behind the head from the show, they stated there's still a lot of places on the Equestria that hasn't even been explored yet. So I really hope at least that could happen. And there were a lot of so-called concept art of the main six, like um, Sunny, Fluttershy as a unicorn, Pinky as a Pegasus, Twilight as an Earth pony, and the other two, Applejack and Rarity, and Rainbow would still remain as they were. And that Twilight, she would have been obsessed, almost, I wouldn't say called obsessed, but she would have been intrigued at the of being flying. I saw there's some art designs that she was working on some of mechanical wings. If that's possible, who knows? But then the Hasbro announced there's going to be new characters, which I thought, okay, not a big deal. I mean, they brought new characters in the G4 the whole time. What? No? G6, the main six were not happening, but they have the new main five, which is now the new main six. So yeah. And as Robert Seaman, I see four possible actors to could play Grugar in G5: Mark Hamill, Jim Cummings, Johnny Depp, and Tim Curry. You know, there was actually one other fifth potentially I would loved could have been Grugar. Jim Carrey, The Mask, Dr. Eggman from the Sonic movies. unfortunately, unfortunately, as I've been told, he is retiring from his acting career. So, but when? No idea. So if that happening, well, who knows? But I would have loved Jim Carrey as a character in a G5 or G4. I mean, Weird Al in G4 as cheese sandwich. Well, um, it was just great. Yeah, Malachite. I thought that I only had just a half an hour left on my free plan use. Not even 2 hours. Only around 30 minutes or so. Well, I really hope the one thing. I really hope that this one don't affect my when it resets. Oh boy, if that happens, I see, hey, that will be sucks. Well, um, but yeah, there isn't much else to be talking about. Keith David. Uh, honestly though, I have no idea who that actor is. Honestly, I don't even know who Keith David is. From Disney Gargoyles. The Gargoyles I have seen all of them, including the non-canon season, but um, I don't even recognize at least I don't even know which character he voiced it for in the Gargoyles. But at least I know for a fact that wait, the wait, wait, oh, Goliath, the big leader. Whew. Now, no, no, okay, okay. That's not a bad choice for him to play actor as that one. Um, yeah, I we were talked about doing Hangman after this, but uh, not anymore. Since Game Guy is excuse me. Yeah, since Game Guy is unable to do this since he had to shovel some snow and that from this insane blizzard. And honestly, though, my small town has never, as far as I know, never had this type of um, blizzard. As long as I've been living here, which has been around 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 10, 12, 15, 20, 25, almost 30 years. And I'm not even originally from here, so I don't say that much. Um, but yeah, but we could probably do Hangman tomorrow, but in after stream. Um, but yeah, and like I said earlier, I really hope that those bots does not return at all in my streams. It just it just you know it's just something I really don't want to happen. It just even just like yesterday, it went completely insane. literally over insane. I mean, first, one of the bots texting same letter repeatedly over 150 times. And then it is another bot came and then did the same thing with over 200 times. And the fact though, those three bots, will they return? Not at all, because I banned those bots. I would ban anyone from my channel just because, you know, how things been. My channel, my streams, my rules. That's it. As long as you don't follow the rules, you're fine. But as long as you start breaking them and being strangely behaving, you're out of here permanently. Just saying. Do you think Rainbow Dash and Light Dust could be a good couple? Ooh, you did, Robert. Ooh, tough one, tough question. But basically, they were considered friends for the first time they met. But I think that Rainbow Dash realizing her friendship with Lightning Dust was not a good thing, considering how that even though Lightning Dust is kind of like Rainbow Dash, but she wanted to do things so fast that she would probably be hoping to be the next Wonderbolt. I mean, she didn't even care as long as she got the result. In even after she that when she made that tornado, when that she could have hurt every other opponents. And at that time when she was in those washouts, when she made this performance outside Ponyville, how somehow she managed to convince um, you know, um Scootaloo to perform a stunt that didn't even have any form of safety net or anything, and not even that. Scootaloo had no practice even before them. So, but if Lightning Dust would have asked Rainbow Dash, Rainbow not Dash, Dash out sometime after this, even though if she had coming back to Ponyville or something, uh, doubt it. I really doubt it that Rainbow Dash would even to ask, being she would definitely reject her so bad. But if Rainbow Dash had been asked out by Lightning Dust when they were in a Wonderbolt Academy as reserves together, I mean, as from the start, it's possible that she could have said yes. But after seeing how her reckless she were, and that she didn't care of the meant that the others could have been hurt, I don't think, even if she did it yes, but after seeing how reckless, um, you know, how Lightning Dust used her ways to be getting faster, well, results and that using their tornado to clear the sky, I don't think Rainbow Dash would even consider be dating her. I mean, after at first, maybe yes, it was a yes, definitely with that. I mean, they were basically the same personality. They were have the basic same goals. They want to be a Wonderbolt, but seeing how her personality was way off, and and that she had to do things that what she wanted, what it took required to take, being a Wonderbolt, even though she had to do some things that were considered very dangerous. I don't think, right. But if Lightning Dust had asked her out shortly after they got to introduce each other, it's possible that Rainbow Dash would have said yes. But after that, if she had said yes and to go out with her, but after seeing how reckless Lightning Dust were, and especially causing that tornado that could have injured many of the other ponies, I do believe that Rainbow Dash would have change of heart. And after that, and after Lightning Dust was rejected from being in reserve, I think that even Rainbow Dash would have rejected her as going out with her. And if Lightning Dust had asked Rainbow Dash out during after the washouts, um I really don't believe she would even said yes either. She probably said, "You Get away from me, and I never want to see you ever again. And that is one thing I do in fact believe Rainbow Dash would say something like those words, but if Lightning Dust didn't have the same, if she wasn't showing that type of reckless, behavior and didn't cause a tornado, if she was like Rainbow, doing everything that it took for be as accepted as a wonderful reserve, but not causing any injuries to others or any form of harm to anyone. But then, yeah, I would then say definitely she would have could have been with her. But seeing how reckless and how strange behavior that Lightning Dust had, I don't think Lightning Dust would not end up being with Rainbow Dash at all. And but otherwise, they could have been a good couple if Lightning Dust didn't have that dangerous mindset. If she didn't had caused those the tornado,
Swedish.
well, yep.
I can't stay.
All right, see ya.
I'll see you on Discord later. I gotta
Yeah,
go.
yeah, see ya.
All right. Goodbye.
Soren is more for Rainbow Dash to me, said Cody. I had to agree. But if it wasn't for Soren, there is two other potential I could see it her with. Fluttershy and Spitfire. Spitfire at least that doesn't have that crazy mindset as Lightning does. Well, sure, she can be a little bit bossy, but at least she had her conscience. She had her empathy and some compassion for others. She can be strict, but she knows well. But like it does with Rainbow Dash, well, if she didn't have that strange behavior, like the mindset she had and caused problems for others, then yes, I would say definitely that she could have been a potential good couple with Rainbow Dash. But having that mindset about doing whatever it took require, even causing a tornado to clear the sky from the clouds, then no. And having one of Rainbow Dash's best fan, the biggest fans, Scootaloo, and even as her kind of adopted sister, no, definitely not even a good thing to be in that. I don't believe that Rainbow Dash would never would be with Lightning Dust. Would any of the main six would have been with Lightning Dust? Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely not. Robert says I can see Rainbow Dash and Starlight as a as a couple. No, yeah, no, that I can definitely see as a couple. But as we all know, as rare as Starlight were in the beginning when we first introduced her, if Rainbow was asked out by her then, I don't think Rainbow Dash would say yes at all. But after she reformed and after accepting friendship and how later on how Starlight was helping her friends, then yeah, definitely she would have been a good couple with Rainbow Dash. But yeah, Lightning Dust was too selfish, and I don't think otherwise that most ponies would even want to be dating her. But if Lightning Dust did show true compassion and true seriously remorse of her actions, especially during a academy and with Scootaloo, then potentially I could see maybe Rainbow Dash could have been a friend, at least, to Light Dust. And maybe, I just say big maybe, they could potentially perhaps been as a couple. But as long as the Lightning Dust doesn't show any form of remorse what she did, there is no way for Rainbow Dash or anyone else to even want to be with Um, Lightning Dust. Oh, the only one I can consider her with is either Grugar or Tarek. No, wait. Lightning Dust containing Tom the Rock. At least not have to worry about that one. uh, but yeah, I don't think Lightning Dust should not even be dating it with anyone as long as she doesn't show any signs of remorse. But if she did seriously showing remorse of what she did, then it is possible that she could end up with someone. Of course, there are also those potentially those Lightning Dust could have been dating Rainbow Dash, even though that could have been, let's say, there's an ultimate world, ultimate universe where Lightning Dust wasn't this selfish, that she wasn't this reckless. She had limits of what she wanted to do, and that she was like Rainbow Dash. If it was like that in that potentially ultimate universe, if Lightning Dust shared the same personality as Rainbow, with no such reckless endangerment others, then yes, I would definitely consider her as a couple with Rainbow Dash. In fact, there have been some people that actually shipping Rainbow Dash with even Scootaloo, which I don't know, but it's just no. I can see them as sisters, yes. As a mother and daughter, definitely. What would Rainbow Dash do to Lightning Dust if Scootaloo happened? What if that Scootaloo and that she died in the accident or in that stunt? Oh, Robert, Robert. That is the one thing that most people probably wouldn't even want to even to think of. But well, if Scootaloo did end up dying from that performance, and like it does knows she was the one that directly causing the forcing Scootaloo to perform this, knowing that this was dangerous, and no safety net, no other safety precautions were ever taken. And the fact that Scootaloo has absolutely no even practice for that particular stunt. If she knows what that happened, and that in fact she was the one that causing that death in Franklin from the first place, I do believe that she will take off, like flying as fast as she could from Ponyville from not to be captured. But as we all know, Rainbow Dash is the fastest flyer, and not only that, and not knowing that flying, knowing that Scootaloo is not only Rainbow's biggest fan ever, but also like a younger sister to her. And having seen Scootaloo's lifeless body on the ground, and knowing Lightning Dust was the one causing this, I do believe with that much anger and grief, I will do one thing that Rainbow Dash will see: red. She will definitely see red, and she will fly so fast. And I do might think that this, while flying so fast, she might even cause not just one, not two, perhaps maybe more than five ring booms, sonic ring booms. And I do find to believe that she might just simply capture, attack Lightning Dust. I mean, there's only two potential ways it could happen outcome. One, she just simply push her to the ground and hold her down and maybe tie her up or something and drag her all the way back to Ponyville to so that she could be in, get her punishment. Or two, she might be so much anger, so much in such deep rage, she would even care if she had killed Lightning Dust. As long as she had revenged her sister slash friend Steph, that's all she cared for. But if the other opponents know what she did, I don't know if Rainbow Dash would even get any serious punishment for what she did. But in some opponent's minds, she did caught the killer of a young child, and she only did what she so justice would do. But I don't think she would even take that outcome. I do think that she may just simply flying after lightning dust, catch her, and bring her back to Ponyville so that she could suffer. And what kind of punishment? Well, I don't think they have death penalty in Equestria. I don't think so. At least never mentioned. Well, if they did, after all, right, it's a kid show. But no, if Lightning Dance did directly cause Skululu's death in that washout performance, Rainbow Dash to capture her, bring her back to Ponyville, and the most suitable punishment for her is that she was sent to life sentence in the Taurus. That's it. Yeah, Red Eyes bet. Definitely, Cody. Well, see you next time, Cody. Yeah, I'm about to end the stream here, anyways. So, yeah, I just saying right now, Skululu, good thing that her friends, her family, well, her friends was there to say that stop from him happening. It just, Robert, you really are giving me a lot of things to think of when it comes to this. This is actually sometimes very a very interesting ideas or topics, or at least um, a thing to have been talking about, say, like what if scenarios. Even though most people don't want to even talk about what if scenarios are, but this is could be interesting as like what if scenario. And I would actually hope that this could be more of those, what if scenarios of involves of MLP characters. Like say, what if Twilight wasn't chosen as the next princess? What if she never finished the spell that starts from David Finch himself? If she never did, she would remain as a unicorn, and the castle of those other events would eventually happen, wouldn't? And if Kozuglo never end up being a pen pal with, well, if he did end up pen pal with Tirek, and the main six find it out somehow, and they had a serious talk with her, and she felt remorse, and that simply forgave her. Well, and who knows? But yeah, this has been an interesting stream, despite it was supposed to be short. But yeah, it might be a little bit longer next time. But even though it's just yeah. Well, until next time, people. This is gonna be interesting to see what else topics to talk about next time. So well, this is Switch Diablo signing off. Bye everyone, and stay safe. Woohoo!